The African continent must find a way to navigate the current global politics. Well, this was a view from former South African President Thabo Mbeki. He was delivering the Aziz Pahad dialogue. The event was attended by foreign diplomats. And here's international news editor Sophie Mokoena spoke to former Ambassador Kingsley Makhubela earlier.
Ambassador, the former president focused on the US and Trump's administration. Was that deliberate?
Sophie, thank you very much. It was intentional because the question of the US is occupying everyone's mind. Trump is shaking every tree around the world, the Europeans, the Africans. So the challenge that the president raised was, how do we interface with this new administration in Washington? And he was emphasizing global political issues, changing multipolarity, as to, is there institutional capacity within DECO to interface and deal with these new emerging challenges? There are challenges, there are opportunities too in what the Trump administration is presenting around the world.
Did he provide answers?
He was actually challenging, he was challenging DECO to start thinking about how to deal with this. I think it comes in light of what has happened to our ambassador, even though the president didn't say that. But you could see he's challenging people to think on policy issues, to stay out of the insult that has been going around.
On the US and China, he was quite clear what's happening there in relation to the dominance of the United States of America that seems to be fading away.
You know, Sophie, what he said, China is an emerging power. Everyone acknowledged. And he was really at pain to quote what Marco Rubio said at one meeting about the emerging of this multipolarity, how it must be managed. The challenge is the two big powers, the Chinese power and the American power. How are they going to work together to really influence the global development, to reduce some of the tensions that we're seeing around the world? I think that's essentially what President Mbeki was challenging all of us here to start thinking about this.
On Russia, when he was talking about President Putin, what comes to mind yesterday, the President of the United States of America sending a warning to Russia. For some of us, it was a shock because we've been thinking that it's all rosy.
No, you know, Sophie, Trump has to balance issues. He has to balance his constituency at home about how he views the American. By and large, a lot of Americans, even lawmakers, they still see Russia as this big arch rival and enemy of the US. So the message he sent yesterday about Putin not being able to make a decision about the peace agreement was essentially a message that he's sending to his constituency too, but also to the Russians. For the Russians to be able to provide him, he needs to be provided with some dividends that he can showcase back into the United States that he's dealing with the Russian. It's coming up with concrete dividends. Without that, there must be compromise. It can't be the fact that he's putting more pressure on Zelensky, no pressure on Putin. So he's sent a message quite clearly that he's putting pressure on both of them. And I think that's what he was doing. I don't think it's substantial. I think Putin has made it quite clear that there's a good relationship and there's level of trust between him and Trump. And I don't think Trump is likely to really dislodge this trust that exists between him and Putin. He would work on it. Of course, you're going to find now and then the hiccups there and there. But by and large, the trust between the two of them, I think it's useful for international peace and security, to not only for the two countries.